Hey guys, thanks for joining me today, Wednesday, March 28th, 2018, for the 8th episode of my virtual workshop series on intuitive eating. Today we're here to talk about Principle 2, which is honor your hunger. And the principles were created by Tribole and Resch, the authors of Intuitive Eating. So that's kind of what I'm basing the outline of my workshop series on. And so it's honor your hunger. And you might notice that today I'm sporting a little bit of a different look. Spring break got the best of me, and we didn't have school on Monday. So wrapping up the lacrosse season, had the last 4 weeks of lacrosse, and my one puppy had surgery to remove her ear canal on Monday, and I just got her home last night, and she's walking around with a big cone on her head, and she's deaf in one ear, and there's a lot going on. So I just foregoed my shower this morning, and I'll do that later. So this is me. This is what I really look like on a regular basis. So before I go any further, here's my usual disclaimer that everything I say here is for informational and educational purposes only and should not take the place of any advice you might receive from your healthcare practitioner. So honoring your hunger sounds easy, right? It totally should be, but it's not. When we slow down and consider it, honoring your biological hunger may not be as simple as it sounds. So when was the last time that you felt your stomach grumble and stopped and said, thank God, this beautiful, amazing organism that I am blessed to call my body is telling me it needs to be fed. So I'm going to drop everything and honor that biological signal so I can keep doing what I'm doing and not worry about it again for several hours. That's how simple honoring your hunger should be. It should be as simple as acknowledging an itch and dropping what you're holding to scratch it. It should be as simple as having to swallow or blink. It should be, but it's not. These days in American culture, in diet culture, hunger has become such a loaded feeling, and there are so many other elements at play that for most of us, it's no longer as simple as your body signaling that it needs to be fed and honoring that request by feeding your body exactly what it's asking for in the appropriate quantity and then moving on to what really matters, which is the rest of your life. Now, many of us have struggled with our body for so long, we no longer recognize our hunger signals as a good thing. Many of us have denied our hunger for so many reasons that they may be muted or delayed. And this whole cascade effect occurs when you have done that. But I'll get into that more next week when I talk about primal hunger. But today I want to give you an overview of what it means to honor your hunger, because as Tribole and Resch say, the first step to reclaiming the world of normal eating, and this is a quote, the first step to reclaiming the world of normal eating, free from dieting and food worry, is to honor your biological hunger. Because, they write, your body, that physical entity that it is, needs to know, to trust, that it will always have access to food, that dieting and deprivation are halted forever. Otherwise, your biology will always be on call, ready to avert famine. And again, I'll cover that part specifically, the biological aspects of why and how your body was designed to fight deprivation and to fight and prepare against dieting next week. But because there's a lot of meat to that topic, so it'll go on too long if I do it this week. So if honoring your hunger should be simple, but it isn't, why is that? Well, if you have ever deprived your body of food through staving off hunger or food group elimination, say by cutting back on carbs, or if you have been a chronic dieter or meal plan follower, then you have taught your body that famine is frequent, so stay on guard. The moment you first tried to control your natural biological function, that is hunger, that's the moment you told your body, don't trust that you will always get what you need. And at that moment, you set off a cascade effect of biological deprivation. So if you have ever tried to control your hunger, quote unquote control. If you've ever tried to control what you eat, if you have ever tried to do anything related to what or how you eat beyond that natural process, which is, oh, I feel hungry, let me eat, then your body has been biologically conditioned by your mind to dishonor your hunger. But there is hope. If you're able to go through these steps towards becoming an intuitive eater, towards biologically reconditioning your body, then your body can come to trust you again. Your body will rebuild trust that its needs will be met. And once you earn that trust back from your body, it becomes much easier to stop eating when you've had enough. Because that's the crux of it, isn't it? Most of us are here listening because we have some imbalance with the way we eat. All of our issues are different, and we all landed here for different reasons. But for whatever reason, if you're listening, then you're probably someone who has lost balance with your relationship with food. And the whole point of intuitive eating is to bring that relationship back into balance. So we have one less thing to struggle with. And it's not a little thing. It's a really big thing. When your relationship with food makes you feel badly about yourself, how are you ever supposed to be happy? So if we can build that trust back, if this biological entity that is my body can trust completely and entirely that I will meet my body's physical needs 100% of the time, then it becomes a lot easier to eat only what my body needs, to stop when I've had enough, to turn away foods that make me feel bad, because there's no longer a sense of deprivation. But I'm straying into next week's topic of primal hunger, the biological drive to eat what we don't really need just in case, the physiological effects of deprivation. So let me just stop right there and say there are very scientifically proven reasons that we overeat as a result of deprivation. But back to today's topic, which is honoring your hunger. So some of you might be wondering, okay, so if hunger is such a natural thing, as you say, how has mine become, or how has it come to feel so, well, unnatural? Here are the four most common ways as cited by Tripoli and Resch. Number one, your hunger signals might have been numbed through training your body to ignore them, or through the repeated use of diet beverages or caffeinated tea or coffee. You have essentially numbed your biological sensation by training your mind to deny your body. Number two, dieting is another way we silence hunger signals. Some of us get so used to psychologically ignoring our hunger that the signals just get easier to tune out. Number three, chaos in one's life. I mean, who isn't busy these days? I think that's becoming the chronic illness of Americans, actually. It's going to be our downfall, is that we're all so busy. We're too busy to do anything well. Whose schedule isn't crazy? And we're so busy running around trying to keep up with keeping up that who has time to listen for their hunger? And finally, skipping breakfast. Number four. Skipping breakfast. We've all heard the phrase that breakfast is the most important meal, and if you repeatedly skip this meal in an effort to reduce calories, you're changing the natural timing of your biological hunger, and your hunger signals can get totally thrown off. So those are the four most common ways that your hunger signals might have gotten dulled over time. They might have been numbed through chronic use of artificial sweeteners or caffeine. This is just a recap. They might have been numbed through chronic use of artificial sweeteners or caffeine. They might have been silenced due to chronic dieting. They might have gone unnoticed due to chaos in one's life, and they might have been thrown off by skipping breakfast. Now, some of you out there might be thinking, hey, I don't want to feel hungry because then I want to eat. And I don't want to eat because I want to be thin, or I want to stay thin, or I want to lose weight. So I'm going to adopt those four tricks to cure me of my hunger. To any of you out there thinking that, I'm going to say, please stop right there. Have you been watching my workshop series? I hope you have. If you've been following along, I hope that some of this has sunk in, and that it's starting to make sense that trying to lose weight is a wasted effort. If that's not sinking in, then I have failed you so far, and I would love the chance to talk to you one-on-one. Also, there may be some of you out there with this nagging feeling that you're afraid of feeling hungry. This fear of hunger, and it's not an easy thing to determine if you fall into that camp. I fall into that camp through my childhood experiences, not always having my needs met or having my needs denied or not being in touch with my needs, my physical and emotional needs. I actually developed a fear of feeling hungry. And that is a large part of where my personal issues stem from and my disordered eating. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And now that I have, it's like a whole light bulb has gone off. So if you're listening today and you might begin to suspect that you might subconsciously feel, you fear feeling hungry, and that might drive you to overeat, then please contact me because I can help you. But moving on, finally, how do we start to honor our biological hunger? First, we start to listen for it. Hunger might feel different to every single person watching this webinar. If you start to key into your own personal body sensations, you might start to realize that your body does let you know in its own way that it needs to be fed. So listening for it, how do we do that? Every time you eat, ask yourself, am I hungry? What's my hunger level? And if you realize that it's been a long time since you have actually felt hunger, ask yourself, when was the last time I felt hungry? How did my stomach feel? What taste did I feel in my mouth? And just to let you know, hunger can take many forms. It's not just a growling tummy, as a lot of people think of it. And here are some of the forms that hunger might take for you. It could be a mild gurgling or gnawing feeling in your stomach, an empty feeling. It could be growling noises. It could be lightheadedness or difficulty concentrating or uncomfortable stomach pain. It could be irritability, your behavior changes, your demeanor changes. It could be feeling faint. That can be related to your blood sugar levels. And it could be a headache, which can also be from thirst. But, drink water first and then move on. So start listening for these sensations, these hunger sensations. And it might take you a period of hyperconsciousness. It could take hours, days, weeks, months. It could take a year. If you're somebody whose hunger signals have been dulled or numbed or muted or ignored for maybe your whole life, most of your life, then it may take a while for you to discover your hunger again. But believe me, it's worth it. If it helps, and if you're somebody who's very out of touch with your hunger signals, it might help to know that a general guideline is that most people have a biological need to eat every 3 to 4 hours. Some people, a quarter to less than a quarter of people need to eat every 2 to 2.5 hours, and the rest of people don't feel hungry until every 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours. But a general but pretty good rule is going longer than 5 waking hours without eating, and your body will physically start to run low on the fuel that it needs to function in ways that makes you feel your best and most energized. And I forgot to get my book out in advance. Let me find page 70. If it's helpful, Tribole and Resch have created a hunger discovery scale. How do I put that? That's the wrong page. It's on page 70 of, I don't know what edition this is, but if you want to message me, I can let you know. They've created this hunger discovery scale, and it's this handy little chart that you could probably even find online. And just a note, if it's too reminiscent to some of you of food tracking, things that you might have done in pre-dieting days or as part of disordered eating behavior, and it makes you feel icky to do this, which is totally normal, by the way, you can not do this. You can just mentally notice, but if it doesn't make you feel icky, then you can start using their hunger discovery scale to start tracking your hunger. And the tracking is simply for purposes of rediscovering your body's personal rhythm of hunger, because we all have different patterns. On the scale, they use words like empty, that's like 0, you're empty. Ravenous, you're all set. You're having hunger pangs. You're neutral. Here's Coco with her her little inflatable collar. She's trying to get under my desk, which is where she sits. I'm not going to let her in right now. Satisfied, you're full. Then you're stuffed. And then you're sick. You're past the point of full and stuffed, and now you feel sick. And these words kind of describe the full range of feelings related to hunger, but feel free to come up with your own. Your hunger might feel different than theirs does. And through tracking for a few days or weeks or even months or a year, hey guys, we got some new people on. Hi, Scott. You might discover that, and this is a really interesting way to think about it, you might discover that, hey, I thought I could go 4 to 5 hours without eating, but I'm actually somebody that needs to physically eat every 2 to 3 hours. And then I'm fine by 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Then I don't need to eat anymore. I'm not hungry and I'm not craving anything. And my mind is not completely obsessed with food. And so if you're somebody who needs to eat every 2 to 3 hours, but you're only eating every 4 to 5 hours because you read somewhere that that's what you're supposed to do, then you're not eating often enough biologically for your body, and you might be setting off this cascade effect that I alluded to before of overeating later in the day, simply because your body biologically needs to be fed more often than you're feeding it, and it thinks that it's in deprivation mode. And you're psychologically beating yourself up thinking, what is wrong with me? I ate all day long. I ate every 4 hours. And how can I be this hungry at night? I shouldn't need to eat. But in essence, you have created a war with your body. And it's driving you, it is physiologically driving you to eat more, eat carbs, because that's what your body evolved to seek when it's in a time of famine, because it's the easiest form of fuel. It's the easiest thing for your body to break down when it is in starvation mode. And if you are depriving your body physiologically, then it thinks that there's a famine. It thinks that there's an actual food shortage. And so you want chips and cookies and ice cream and cake and bread, because those are all simple forms of sugar. And you just want all the bread because your body is physiologically forcing you to want it. So when really, if maybe you just fed yourself an extra snack or two, sorry, I have to let Coco under my seat or she's going to keep bothering me. Go ahead. What if you just fed yourself an extra snack or two during the day, and so you cut your timing down to 2 to 3 hours, then your body at night, come like 6 or 7 o'clock at night after you're done with dinner, your body's just chill. It got what it needed. It'll say, let's have some sleepy time tea, or, let's have just a big glass of water or something. And your body will let you fall asleep and have a great night's sleep because you don't have all that crap in your stomach. And you wake up the next day feeling awesome. All because you tried this little experiment and realized that you're somebody whose biological hunger does not match what you think it should be, or what you read it should be, or what Facebook told you it should be. So, we just drive our own selves crazy. And if we just drowned out all the voices, or were never exposed to them in the first place, our hunger could be as simple as we noted at the beginning of today's episode. Your hunger would just be a blip on the screen of your biological functioning, not some big, huge deal that stresses you out and makes you unhappy all the time. And why do we want to do that? What is my goal here, as I've said before, is to help everybody get a little bit happier. So let's maybe give it a try if you have time and inclination. My hope for you, if you're someone who suffers from food worry, or you struggle with your relationship with food, is that you give this a shot. So between now and next week, I hope you can devote just a few minutes a day to noticing your hunger. You don't have to use the scale if that makes you feel icky or brings you back to days of calorie counting or anything like that, but it is helpful. I tried it. It's pretty interesting what you discover about yourself. So try to notice how attuned to your hunger are you? Have your signals been dulled or numbed? Do you blow right past moderate hunger on most days and then find yourself in a frequent state of hangry? Do you often overeat at night, or do you often make food choices that you suspect, after listening to the workshop series thus far, might have something to do with the fact that you've been denying yourself? And I'll get into this a little later when we talk about different voices of hunger. There are different types of denial, and there are different types of your needs being met and unmet. There's physical needs, and there's physical hunger. And then if you have been emotionally restricting yourself, or somebody along the way told you that you didn't deserve to go to therapy, or you didn't need to go to therapy, but you really felt like maybe talking through some things might help you, then your emotional needs, your psychological needs were unmet, and that's something else that can drive you to overeat. So there's a whole just gamut of reasons that we eat the way we do. And but right now we're just talking about honoring your physical hunger, which can be difficult to get in touch with if the emotional stuff is sticky in there. But if you can really try to tune into what your physical body is telling you, that's kind of the first step towards this discovery process. So you can look back and ask yourself, am I good at interpreting my body's hunger language? Do I know that if I get a headache, that means I'm hungry? Do I know that if I start to get cranky at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not because I need coffee, it's because I need a little snack? Do you honor your body's signals? If you do, if you're good at that, what's led you to that? What's helped you tune into that? And we would love to know. If you want to drop a comment, if you're somebody that's good at listening and honoring your signals, I'd love to know how you learned how to do that. So over the next couple of weeks, until the last week of April, I'm going to drill into this subject of honoring your hunger, which again is principle 2 in Trevelyan Rush's Intuitive Eating. Next week, I'm going to talk about quote unquote primal hunger, which is your evolutionarily defined biological drive to eat. And there's a really interesting study they did during World War II where they took a completely quote unquote group of normal men who had zero disordered eating. Like they were intuitive eaters to start with, and they never thought or worried about what they ate except I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat until I'm full and then I'm done. And they put them through a period of starvation, and it's crazy the way they behaved. They behaved like most of us on Facebook. So that's the World War II starvation study I'll talk about next week. And then the following week, I may have to broadcast on a day other than Wednesday, because I'm going to be teaching at my son's elementary school a lesson on nutrition and portion sizes, which should be interesting. I'm going to try to talk to them about fat and sugar and things like that. But that week that I may not broadcast on Wednesday, I'm going to be covering other voices of hunger, which is also in this chapter, Honor Your Hunger, of Intuitive Eating. And those other voices are things like taste hunger, which might also be called cravings, practical hunger, which might also be called planning ahead, and emotional hunger, which is a very loaded term these days. And then the week of April 18th, I'm going to share some tips on how to figure out what kind of eater you are and how you can develop your own personal hunger scale. But until then, I hope you'll spend some time tuning in to your own body, paying attention to when that grumble in your tummy arises, or does it speak in another voice? And can you wait to feel that feeling to feed yourself, or do you ignore that feeling quite a bit? Why do you do that, or why not? And again, just focus on noticing. This is not about judgment. This is a judgment-free zone. We are not here to say you ate without feeling hungry, so you did it wrong. No way, man. There's no right or wrong here. There's just compassionate awareness. Are you somebody who purposely ignores their hunger? Why or why not? Are you somebody who's lost their hunger? Is it easy to tell when your body needs to eat? Because I'm sorry to tell you, and when you come to accept this, it's a beautiful thing, and I won't have to be sorry to tell you, but we all need to eat. It's on Maslow's scale of basic needs. It's a basic human need that needs to be met before you can do anything else. Hunger, whether you like it or not, is your friend. It's not something we should fear. And again, if you're someone who's afraid of feeling hungry, then let's talk. There's just way more to that topic than I can cover here in an overview, but it's something I really understand personally. So we can set up an appointment. So let's focus on noticing our body's way of saying, hey, I'm hungry. It's time to eat. Let's focus on practicing non-judgmental compassion towards ourselves and continuing to reject the diet mentality, which is what I covered last month. So I hope between last month when I talked about, just to recap, rejecting the diet mentality, fat phobia, and diets in disguise, things like paleo becoming an obsession when really that's a diet, and this intro into honoring your hunger, I hope that this concept of food and eating and our body, it's no big thing, except that it is. And it's only a big thing because society has made it so. And if you can step back and focus on your body and what it's telling you and shut everything else out and realize that you're perfect and wonderful and you exist on earth for so much more than being an object, and what your body looks like is not what it's all about. And if you give yourself what you need, and if you feed your body what it wants, and if you let your body come back to a place of trust, trusting you, then your body simply becomes a vehicle for health. And food simply becomes a way to maintain that health. And nutrition is not 100% responsible for your health. There's a term called orthorexia now. That's an unhealthy obsession with being healthy. It's like the new eating disorder. It's this strong is the new skinny. Those people that post those memes are still very skinny. Health is not just about the way you look. It's not about your body size. It's not about your weight. And it's not just about what you eat. You are meant for so much more than worry and anxiety and stress. And if we can ease our relationship with food and ease our relationship with our body, which causes so many of us so much angst and just worry and obsession in life, then this whole world of possibilities opens up and you have the chance to feel so much more happy than you do already. Oh my God, 27 minutes. But my friends, once again, I've gone on way too long. And, I appreciate anybody who watches this beginning to end. I don't think that I would watch it myself beginning to end. But if you can fit in little bits and pieces here and there, I really, really do appreciate your viewership. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. There's so much to get into with this subject, as there is with everyone. That's why there's a whole book written on the topic. Again, the subject was honoring your hunger, and I hope you tune in next week to learn more about your primal drive to eat. It might explain a lot of your behaviors, which you attributed to lack of quote-unquote willpower, really comes down to your biological, physiological, primal drive to eat. Until then, if you like this episode, please share it. If you would like to contact me for a session, you can visit my website, which is www.kpcoachingjupiter.com. Send me an email, send me a text, call me, private message me. I'm here. I want to help you, and I want you to be happy. I'm so glad you were able to watch this episode today. If you liked it, give me a like or a thumbs up or a heart, or send the link to your friends, your family. Tune in. One person told me that she watches every day at the office, and all of her coworkers gather around to watch. That's awesome. That's kind of what I was going for here. I was trying to do the live the live workshops, but that's so hard for me to get to because I have little kids and a busy schedule, and that's so hard for all of you to get to. So I'm finding that this is a really great way to reach a large number of people. And I'm really appreciative of all your support and tuning in and listening, and it means a lot to me that my viewership keeps growing every week. It's pretty amazing to watch my numbers go up. I need to become more tech savvy so I can get it out there to more people. If you're somebody who's really good at that, I would love your advice. I'm like a one-person show here trying to figure it out, and I'm not that good at computer stuff. So until next week, I hope you feel well. I hope you are well. I hope you're happy. And thanks for tuning in. Bye for now. Bye.